Okay, so this is my Perry Mason Season 2, Episode 3 review. Now, I'm just going to concentrate on the actual case part. I'm not going to do the outside stuff. Except I will make a couple of comments about the outside stuff, but let's concentrate on the case. So, they the brothers have their preliminary hearing, and they're just discussing about how the trial is going to proceed and when is it going to proceed. And Perry wants plenty of time to mount a case, but they give him 3 weeks because the judge at least accepted that if these two are a package deal, that they would need more time. And of course, the prosecutor is beside himself because he only sees these two as Mexicans, not Americans, not Mexican Americans, just Mexicans. And so he can't understand why, if someone would have a problem with one but not the other, because Perry wants them to receive separate trials. And that is so irritating. Because just because they're brothers, just because they're Mexican, does not mean they think in lockstep with each other. And I mean, they're doing everything they can to make Milligan to be a racist piece of shit. Now, I understand that he's a product of his times and racism was rampant. Not that it isn't now, but it was more acceptable back then. Even though it's becoming more acceptable now again, too, so. However, that still makes him a piece of shit, because look at Perry. He's not racist, though he does have some prejudices. Well, shouldn't call them prejudices, I guess, exactly, but like asking where they originally came from, as if the fact that they do not have an accent wouldn't imply that they at least grew up here, not born here. So, yeah, Perry has some of those prejudices too, but at least his are innocent, as opposed to the bloodthirsty ones. So, he gets 3 weeks, which none of them are happy about. The boys are being basically threatened by things like having glass being put in their food, which, how the hell did that happen? It must have been the guards themselves who did it, because it went from the guards' hands to Mateo's. So it's not like the inmates had time to drop anything. So anyway, but they have a very nice bond, the two brothers. And now we see Raphael doing his art and making a car, which one of the inmates decides to be a total prick and take it away from him, because apparently prison is like school. It's like a school playground, and people have to be complete and utter jerks. So, Perry and Della and Paul are trying to figure out how to get these kids off. And so Perry asks the kids, like I said, he asks them where they're originally from. And he tries to actually, I don't know if this is real, if he just forgot to pay his taxes, or if he just couldn't afford his taxes on Mason Dairy. And he basically asks them, so he tells them that he forgot to pay his taxes. And I wonder how much of that was him trying to get them to ease up and lower their defenses and tell him what he needs to hear, because he's not exactly one who's above breaking the law himself. Or if he truly forgot to pay his taxes, but I'm thinking it's more like he just didn't have the money to pay or whatever, rather than forgetting. And while Perry is doing that, he also remembers this number that he found in Brooks's billfold, which was planted in the evidence by, the more I think about it, the more I think it's Holcomb who planted it, because it has to be someone who's a member of the police, because it, nobody would bat an eye that someone from the police is looking at evidence. So I'm now looking towards Holcomb, because despite what Perry's trying to do and trying to prove that Holcomb did it, which Della threw water on, just because he's a dirty cop doesn't mean that he's the cause of everything bad that happens around him. It could easily be that either A, he realized that this is not the road he wants to go down, or B, he just simply, didn't see the point in offing Brooks because of reasons. Anyway, so Perry first tries to call this Sanhaven institution, and he's just shooting his shot, suggesting that there's probably a McCutcheon at Sanhaven, which, why not? I mean, this number was in Brooks McCutcheon's billfold, so maybe it's someone who's related to him. That is perfectly reasonable. But there is no such name. So, but he does ask for an address to Sanhaven. And then he and Della go to visit Camilla. Now, I didn't catch why they did. I think it's because Della wanted to talk to her because she seemed to know Brooks. So they wanted to get more of a character witness. And so she accidentally helped Perry without knowing it, because they're having a nice chat, even though she's obviously flirting with him. She's obviously flirting with Perry, asking him about his core and all that. And then he asks her about Sanhaven. And then she goes off, her whole mood changes, and it's like, I'm not going to address tawdry rumors that Lawson girl and her family have been through enough. Which, of course, now Perry has a name. Not a full name, but at least he has a last name and the gender. And so I don't know what these tawdry rumors are. Was he in a relationship with this girl? Was what was the relationship in this? So Perry goes to Sanhaven. He tries to BS his way past the nurse, and when she goes to get the administrator, he just takes the liberties of looking at the book to find out where, find the name Lawson, and to find her room number. So he gets there and there's nobody in the room. And he takes pictures. I didn't catch what picture he took a picture of, what photograph. It was obviously her with a man, but I didn't get a close enough look to see if that's supposed to be Brooks or somebody else, or if it's her parents. I know nothing. And he hears someone, and so he hides in the bathroom. And lucky for him, she's catatonic. She's just staring. I think I saw her blink. Or maybe it was the shadows. But he takes a picture of her, which I know he's doing this for a case to get a good feel of Brooks. And unfortunately, it sounds like in order to get these two kids off, he's going to have to drag Brooks's reputation through the mud. But it still felt a little ew that he was taking pictures of a catatonic woman. And so the administrator and nurse come in and drag him away. Well, actually, they said you have to leave. It's like, yeah, I'm done. So he leaves. And when he gets back to his office, Lydell McCutcheon, his goons were waiting for him. And the secretary is so sweet. She goes, they wouldn't sign it. I mean, she seems sweet. I don't think that's the worst of their behavior. So he goes off, and right before Perry met with McCutcheon, Lydell met with one of Brooks's business partners, and he wants the money he's owed. And, that he's been stiffing him for a couple of months, and could I have my money? Now, Lydell flew off the handle and tortured the poor guy. So they're really trying to make him out to be the bad guy. This is not changing my mind that he's the one who actually killed his own kid. Or I should say had him killed. I doubt he pulled the trigger. Because he's just wanting to protect his son's reputation so bad. And possibly the best way to protect his reputation is for him to kill him before it became bleeding obvious that he was this absolute, positively dumber than a box of rocks. I mean, Camilla even said, he's like a French Renaissance painting. Nice to look at, but nothing underneath. Which is a really nice way of saying he is an idiot. So, now, I like Camilla. I really am not getting any vibes that she had anything to do with Brooks's death. Because, granted, she didn't think highly of him, but it's not like she had a axe to grind with him. She just accepted he is a moron. So, and went on her way. So, so Perry meets with Lydell, and Lydell says, oh, I think that you'll appreciate these horses because your family owned Mason Dairy. And Perry had to break it to him that it's not horses that make milk. Oh, Lord. And I'm just waiting for when we get to see bits and pieces of the Perry that people know from either the series or from the movies. He's confident, he's he has his shit together. I know that it's a slow process. You don't go from being a total mess to being completely put together. But at some point I'd like to see something. Maybe after this case this'll help him. So, and the reason I say that is because one of the things Lydell told him is that, he wants him to stop digging into Brooks's past. And one of the things he throws in his face, let the Gallardo brothers hang because, or let them be convicted, let them go to jail because you got Emily Dodson off, and look where that landed her, which of course didn't sit well with Perry. Why would it? I actually expected him to clock him. I mean, I realized he had a couple of goons with him, but Perry has shown himself to be quite scrappy. So he is very intelligent, so he probably would have found a way to, not get killed. But yeah, Lydell seems to have the same opinion of Perry's idealism as the judge did when Perry tried to ask him to, pretty please, could you maybe stop these people from harassing my clients because they haven't been convicted of shit yet. So, which, as a fun aside, I did read The Good Earth when I was in high school, I believe. So it says a lot about the judge that reading a very relatable story that just happens to take place among Chinese is too exotic. So yeah. Anyway, so Perry leaves, and of course he's not going to stop digging. Actually, what Lydell did and threatened probably just made him more determined to find out what's going on, because he even asked Lydell about Noreen Lawson, and that's when he really flew off the handle. So Perry knows he's on to something, and Lydell's threats are not going to stop him. So we know that. However, Paul does some digging of his own, and he goes to Hooverville. And in Hooverville, he discovers you can rent guns, and he's like, wait, what? So he sees these two little kids doing target practice, which he found strange, and he just kindly asked the little girl to lower the gun and not point it at him, which is fair. So he rents like 5 guns, and he uses them, and he takes a bunch of what looks like phone books, and he takes one gun and shoots a bullet into every one, and this figures out which one is the murder weapon. So he goes back. So first off, he goes back and he says, yeah, you're not getting these guns back. After he questioned whether the Gallardos rented the gun. And so the response was pulling a gun on him, because pulling a gun on a guy with 5 guns currently on him is really a smart move. So now Paul knows that they rented the gun. So they rented the murder weapon, and Raphael's fingerprints were found on Brooks McCutcheon's car, even though Raphael said, I was never there. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that he just, loves art so much that he saw the car and probably, did one of these jobs of running his hand over the car and, admiring it. So that would explain why his fingerprints would be on there. But the fact that he's not telling the truth, and Perry's even like, I can't help you if you don't tell me the truth. So yeah, finding out about the gun is not going to make Perry very happy. And I think I saw next episode they're going to do that. He's going to call them out on it. So far, now, like I said, it's still really annoying that they're making this a package deal. At worst, the idiot here is Raphael. And Mateo might not have had anything to do with any of this. Or maybe he was there but yeah, it's just the fact that they are a package deal as opposed to, oh no, this one I didn't see, but this one I did is is a bit annoying, but anyway. So it ends with the the case portion of the episode ended with that revelation. Now, as for the other stuff, Paul. Now, does Mo know that Paul had something to do with Perkins being arrested? Because I get the feeling he does know this. I mean, they were discussing it in the house, even though they were off in another room, I think. But still, it's possible he knows that Paul had something to do with it. Not that Paul's thrilled about it, but so that was the other thing I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, and Holcomb. I questioned whether he was going to become like Moriarty to Perry Mason. To Perry Mason Sherlock Holmes. But he said they want to leave the area. They want to leave town. Which doesn't sound like someone who is if they have a third season that Holcomb is going to be a part of it. Provided he does manage to move away. Now, this is not something you do on a moment's notice. So it's possible that he wants to leave town because he did another murder. Or it's just possible that he just wants a fresh start. That he doesn't like the way his life is and he just wants to find something new. That's a possibility too. But yeah, I actually don't mind Holcomb. So, I mean, yeah, he, killed his partner, so he's not exactly an angel. But as far as despicable people go, his partner was even worse, so I don't know. Anyway, so and so the very last thing I wanted to discuss was Della's reaction to Perry coming clean to her, which before I continue, I appreciated that Perry was truthful to Teddy's teacher, that he didn't finish his homework, and that Perry is the reason he didn't finish his homework. So I appreciate the honesty. He doesn't want to get his kid into trouble. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that the teacher was totally cool with him saying that he and his wife are divorced. He and his ex are divorced. It's just refreshing because this is the 30s. This is not something that happen very often, or at least was talked about. So anyway, so Perry comes clean to Della about what happened with Emily Dodson. Now, I'm unsure whether she even knew that Emily committed suicide. It's considering that Perry, also showed her the death certificate, leads me to believe that Della had absolutely no clue about that, let alone knowing that she reached out to Perry for help with these postcards. And of course, Della also helpfully first said, well, why didn't you call a head shrinker, which is a psychiatrist, for her? Why? And Perry's like, you don't think it didn't occur to me after the fact that I screwed up? So Della, instead of being understanding and compassionate, yelled at him for not telling her sooner. Now, I understand being kept in the dark about, oh, this is why you bristle when Emily Dodson is brought up. I understand that it's like, oh, that's why. Okay. That makes a total amount of sense now. I understand that. However, no compassion whatsoever. I mean, maybe a brief moment of, why am I only learning about this now? I could have helped you through this the past few weeks or however long it's been. But no spurt of anger and then compassion. She was just angry the entire time. Why? I mean, he's already kicking himself. He doesn't need you to do it for him. He's already hurting. So yeah, Della has been, except for her performance in court and helping Perry advocate for his clients, I'm not impressed with her this season. She's actually bothering the shit out of me. So, let's see. Oh, yes, and if you thought that talk radio was a new phenomenon and that it started with people like Rush Limbaugh, or if you watched my White House Plumbers, G. Gordon Liddy, no. No, fascism in the U.S. has always been around. We've always had xenophobes. Because as much as we're a melting pot, there are plenty of people who seem to think that melting pots are fine as long as the color of their skin is white. So yeah, that's always been a thing. And actually, it didn't used to have to just be that. It used to be just different ethnicities of white. But anyway. Let's see if there's anything in this episode that I missed. Yeah, I'm really curious as to what happened to make Noreen catatonic. It's implying that Brooks had something to do with it. Now, whether they were involved, and we already know he likes kinks. That he's very kinky. He likes asphyxiation for sex play. So it could have been a sex act gone bad. I mean, once you do that type of shit, bad things can happen. So yeah, sex can go bad when you have these dangerous kinks. So we don't know if he was involved with her and he had some sort of kink that put her in this position, or he got into some sort of accident that affected her. We know nothing yet, but I'm very, very curious. All I know is that nobody wants to talk about it. Camilla just called it tawdry rumors, so it sounds like she knows what's going on. And not just as rumors, but just... So she's very defensive of Brooks. So I just don't see that she had anything to do with his murder. Um, and of course, his father, Lydell, lost his shit when Perry asked him about it. So there is something there. And it's only a matter of time before Perry finds out what it is. I do like their theory though that somebody threw a wallet in a garbage can where they knew that the boys would find it. I do like that theory. Or maybe not these particular boys, but someone from Hooverville. Because the judge just showed that it's not just their ethnicity that he has a problem with, but he just cannot relate to poor people. So, yeah, I wonder about that. And I also wonder if Perry wants to actually have a house again, which, considering he couldn't pay his taxes before, I question whether he's going to move into the Holcombs house once they move away. Let's see. I'm still waiting for when the Della and Anita plot diverges into the main plot, because maybe I've watched too many of these types of shows, but there's something about Anita that just that just seems off to me. Maybe it's because Della was willing to completely drop Hazel like a hot potato. I don't know. But I'm still waiting for Anita to have a bigger role than just a love interest for Della. Or maybe it's just simply this idea that, oh, we need to give Della something to do. I know, let's make her a love interest for someone. Which drives me absolutely nuts, because women can have, other types of B plots, like we see Paul with his family and dealing with his pissed off brother-in-law because he knows that Paul had something to do with Perkins being arrested. Just something. Like I said, homophobia was rampant at this time. It wasn't just racism, it was also homophobia. I would love for her to that be her plot, is dealing with someone who shouldn't be finding out that she's a lesbian, finding out and it getting out, and her having to deal with that. That would be a very interesting plot, and very pertinent to the times, because like I mentioned before, homosexuality was illegal at this time. It wasn't just that you had to deal with homophobia, you also had to deal with the prospect of going to jail for it. So, yeah, I would love to see a storyline involving her, possibly involving the DA, who we've already established is gay, and have, one or both of them have to deal with what happens when the public, this homophobic public, finds out that people that they looked up to, especially the DA, is actually gay. Because that's, at this time, that's obviously the biggest sin anyone could do. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this episode. I believe I've covered everything now with this episode, and I will see you next time.